Hello, I'm Carwyn Jones, and welcome to a series of podcasts where I'll be talking to the movers and shakers in the Welsh economy. What makes them tick? How did they get to where they are now? And what are the challenges and opportunities for the future? I'm joined today by Walter May, who is the founder of GlobalWelsh. Walter, you're very welcome indeed.
Thanks, Carwyn.
Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, your history, and how you got to where you are now.
I'm originally from Pontypool, from a council house, from a working class background, one of 6 children, only boy, 5 sisters, very political family. My dad was very much involved in trade union movement. He worked most of his career for a manufacturing company called Pilkington's, rising to factory manager. So that was my background. Went to local schools, failed my 11 plus, went to school, did the minimum. The only advice I ever took from my dad was, right, son, I know you don't know what you want to do, but go and find yourself an apprenticeship, and then at least you've got something. So that's the only advice I ever followed, and I did an apprenticeship in engineering with the Steel Corporation. Following that, I realised that it's not a future in manufacturing and using my hands. I really wanted to do something with my brain, if you like. So I went to university as a mature student. I think that changing point in my life was meeting my wife and raising my aspirations. So I went to university as a mature student and worked as hard as it was possible to excel at my studies. So I did a master's degree in computer-aided engineering at Cranfield.
And then an MBA at the OU.
Yeah, so I've experienced almost every aspect of the education system, from various schools, various universities, and distance learning through the OU, and I'm a real fan of the Open University. It's amazing.
I mean, your CV includes experience in sales and marketing, as a sales leader, as an MD, and a lot of roles as a consultant as well.
Yeah.
In various, what sort of sectors did you work in?
So I after my master's degree, I went to work for an engineering consultancy firm, which had spun out of the University of Cincinnati, and I went there and I realised, wow, there's some really bright engineers here. And I thought, I'm never going to reach the top amongst these really clever people. Fortunately for me, the company also had a software engineering software business that was growing fast, and the consultancy business was stagnating. So I took a chance and moved from one division of the company to another. And lo and behold, not many years later, I ended up running the company, which look back now and think, I would never have predicted it. So all these bright engineers would then report into me. And when I look back at how that happened, I was lucky to have a mentor. But more than that, I think it was my Welshness, the Welsh character, which I think plays really well in business and certainly in senior management, because of the type of people we are and the type of character that Welsh people, no ego, use humour as much as possible, and wanting to bring people together. So, I think that's a story we haven't told about the Welsh character. I think that's really what defines us. I think that's what has got me to where I am today.
And now, of course, founder of GlobalWelsh.
Yeah.
And that is something, of course, I know that's very important to you. Tell me about how GlobalWelsh came to be in existence. What was the thought process behind it?
Not planned. First thing. The thing that I returned to Wales after about 20 years, and one of the things that became very apparent to me was I wanted to get involved in the entrepreneurship activities within Wales. But what was clear was that everybody I met with would point to problems, but very rarely took the next step and said, well, this is what I think we can do to change it. So I got very much involved in corralling a bunch of enthusiastic young people together and say, okay, we know there's issues here, we know there's challenges, we know that we can't ask people to do big things, but maybe there's a list of small things that may net up to and add up to something significant. So we put together a list of things that we thought were barriers to them succeeding, and these are the people obviously that we're going to rely on in the future for prosperity. And we went to meet with Welsh Government, and lo and behold, a number of them they said yes to. Almost was difficult for them to say no because we weren't asking for much. And one of those things was to run the first Welsh Entrepreneur Conference that there'd ever been. So I ran that, but I basically took all the ideas that entrepreneurs gave me and just produced a conference that they wanted. And in the process of doing that, I spoke to and was approached by many people that lived outside of Wales. And they all more or less said the same thing. You know, I've left Wales, I'm probably never going to come back, but I'm interested in what's going on there. But there's no real vehicle for me to see what's happening. And I'd really like to try and help. So I thought, well, okay, if that's the case, then we really should do something to facilitate these people giving back. I did a bit of research thinking there must be something already in place, but couldn't find anything. So when I discovered also from a bit of research that there was lots of activity around the world and that Wales wasn't doing anything, the first thing I did as an engineer thinking, well, I don't know anything about this subject, but I'll find someone that does, that can mentor me. So I was fortunate to meet a guy called Kingsley Akins, who's an Irishman, and he's probably the world expert in diaspora engagement and networking. So Kingsley mentored me and made a statement which really galvanized me to do something, which was there could be as few as 20 people in the Welsh diaspora that could fundamentally change the economy in Wales for the better. And I looked at him and thought, I don't believe that. But he convinced me that that was true, or possibly true. The point I think he was making was it's not many people. If it's 20, 40, 60, 80, it's not thousands or tens of thousands. So that really was the motivation for me to go and do this. And I started by, again, going back to the entrepreneur group that I was part of and saying, I think this is something we should be doing. And I was fortunate that some of them said, yeah, I agree with you. And I said, I'd like to do some research because I want to base it on facts and evidence. And I was fortunate that some of those entrepreneurs were willing to give me some money to do it. So that took me about 6 to 9 months. And so that's the origin.
At this point, you've spoken to somebody who is Irish, and the diaspora there is enormous. I mean, one of the problems for us, I suppose, in the modern day is that our economy was so successful in the 19th century and the early 20th that people didn't need to leave. Yeah. Whereas Ireland was very different. And of course, now that diaspora has been hugely important to Ireland. But it's an important point you make, I think, that you don't need masses of people. No. You need a relatively small number of people to actually act as the mentors, the angels, the investors, the ambassadors for Wales. And that's so. At that point, you've identified that you don't need that many people that you may have thought. You talked about the diaspora and the need to connect up people within the diaspora. What was your next step then to move it forward?
So, having done the research and discovered some amazing people in our diaspora, and also discovered that a lot of countries are doing it and getting huge benefits from it, we then moved that research into a business planning stage. And so we put a business plan together to do a proper kind of engagement for Wales in connecting with our diaspora, learning from the research that we've done. And the exemplar for us has been New Zealand. So we've probably taken a lot of their experiences and ideas and implemented them within GlobalWelsh. And I think we've taken it to another level because every organisation I contacted had started 10, 15 years ago, more or less, prior to social media. So I think we benefited enormously from coming to this late because we are building our community around social as much as obviously getting face-to-face with people.
So you look at New Zealand. New Zealand, of course, not much bigger than Wales. Not much, but a long, long way from any market, of course. The New Zealanders, of course, have been particularly strong in promoting themselves. They were the first to export their land with refrigerated ships, very much engaged with the rest of the world because their geography has meant they've had to do it, I suppose. Yeah. So what did you find particularly that the New Zealanders were doing that we could copy in Wales?
They had begun to use social, so we were able to learn quite a bit of how they'd begun to exploit social media to build their community. So that was the first thing we learned from them. The other thing, they were into mobile as well. So this is quite early days in terms of mobile apps, but they were already doing that. One of the things that we learned, probably the most valuable thing we learned, is that they have a campaign around world-class New Zealanders. So they have built a unashamedly exclusive network for their world class, and they continually scour the globe for people that are world class or people that are on a trajectory to becoming world class, and they induct them into their world class New Zealand network. 15 to 20 of them a year. They have a gathering every year where they bring them to New Zealand. It's fronted by the government, and they bring these people together and they recruit them it's quite smart how they do it. They recruit them based on government initiatives. So if a government has an initiative overseas that they need to connect with people in the diaspora, they recruit and target them to align with any initiative, whether it's a sector-based initiative, whether it's geographically based. So they get a huge amount of value out of their world-class New Zealand network. Opening doors for New Zealand businesses, bringing expertise back to New Zealand, inward investment, and obviously diaspora investment as well, so that these people are a lot of high net worths. So yeah, that's probably the biggest learning, I think.
Okay. If someone asks you the question, what is Global Welsh? What are its aims? What would you say?
So Global Welsh is about building, ultimately identifying and connecting with every member of our diaspora. That's never going to be achieved, but that's our ongoing aim. And we're inclusive. We're not focused on any particular type or location. So it's an inclusive community of people that still feel passionate and want to connect back to Wales. Our focus is on economic development. So, we know Welsh people, when they get together, wherever they are in the world, enjoy each other's company. They celebrate the landscape, language, our sporting prowess, and so on. But the one thing that during the research I discovered is there's not much of a motivation to try and give back to Wales. So we're all about giving back. That's our aim and that's our objective, because we believe that Wales should be much more prosperous than it is, and we've hemorrhaged a lot of talent and we'll continue to do that. But these people are left, but we can still benefit from their knowledge, their expertise, their willingness to help, and it's really focused on economic development. When I did the research, I looked at Global Scot, and they actually had an impact study done on them in 2006, I think it was, and they attributed an increase in GVA to Global Scot. Now, Global Scot, their remit is much narrower than ours, so I think we should be able to have some economic measure of what we're doing in the future, but this is a 5 to 10 year effort before we see real benefits and significant benefits. So it is about economic development, essentially.
Yeah, you mentioned the diaspora and people leaving, but I remember going to an event with you in February. It was a very happy event because it was the Wales-England game.
Yeah.
And one of the themes that I picked up was we had very successful entrepreneurs with money in their pockets, particularly in North America, who were looking to invest in SMEs in Wales, but found it very difficult to find out how to do that. There was no gateway for it. Now, that's something I know that you've been looking at developing.
Yeah, so we have 4 pillars that we build in Global Welsh around. One is inward investment from the diaspora. Second one is helping companies trade internationally, thought leadership and international mentoring. And we're doing things in all those areas. But we've certainly acknowledged what you said, Carwyn, that there is an appetite to invest. And again, we've done some research. So what we've done is based on research, and we discovered that although high net worths within our diaspora don't identify as investors, they are investing, but they invest where they live. So we've built an investor portal to engage the diaspora formally and provide them with essentially a shop window of fantastic investment opportunities that are in Wales. And we're recruiting our high net worths onto this portal so that when they decide or feel they want to invest in something, they can take a look at what's available in Wales. We think we'll bring money to Wales, direct private money that wouldn't otherwise find its way here. And clearly some of these people are in very senior positions in major corporations, and we think that maybe we can attract some foreign direct investment as well through their positions in their business. So hopefully it's an added benefit to Wales to what's happening elsewhere. So
a lot of what you've described there obviously is work that sits outside of government, and rightly so. You need to have an organisation that does that. But how do you think you can complement the work of both organisations can complement the work of each other?
The research said very clearly that while a private sector diaspora engagement organisation can have impact, and we are, and we will, and that'll scale as we grow, it can have even more impact with the support and engagement of the government and the most senior people in government to facilitate I think earlier I said about KIA, facilitate government international programs that most would benefit from some connection with the diaspora. So we think that some meaningful engagement with government would benefit their overseas ambitions, international trade ambitions, their investment ambitions, their desire to establish some really big tech businesses or other businesses in Wales that can employ lots of people. You know, we're still looking for that second Welsh company on the FTSE. We've got one, but we need more, and maybe we have to grow our own. And I think the diaspora can play a huge role in many ways. Also in terms of it's a rich source of research, for example. So in a recent, there's an international strategy being developed within Welsh Government, and they shared that with us, and they were happy for us to share that with some of our international high net worth diasporas, and they had an input into that. So there's value there. Difficult to put a figure on it, but yeah, so many different ways, Carwyn, so many different ways.
Okay. In terms of looking forward now to the future with GlobalWelsh, how do you anticipate the organisation developing? Do you see it as a portal alone? Do you see it developing into a membership organisation? What would be your views on how you can develop GlobalWelsh over the next few years?
So hitherto, it's all private sector money. It's all based on donations. So we've crowdfunded small donations via the website, but most of the money has been raised through private individuals or organisations in Wales that we would say are stakeholders in what we do. That's not sustainable. We've got enough money, and we'll raise some more in the next 3 to 4 months to get us to the point where we will launch a membership model. We've done, again, research on that. We've certainly put out quite a few questionnaires. We've had the benefit of getting help from a professional membership expert. And that's the great thing about what we do. We haven't got a lot of money, but in many cases, it's not a barrier because people want to help and contribute. So the membership model is being defined. We know the membership levels. We know the ROI and the benefits of each level. We've costed it. And we've been really lucky in identifying a fantastic, well-established platform to build it around. And about 9 years ago, a bunch of guys left INSEAD in France and realised there was no real platform for really effective engagement in terms of the alumni. So they built something. And this is a platform that's being used by a lot of the Ivy League universities in America, so it's proven. So we're going to build our membership around this platform, and it's got amazing functionality, and it's got some great mapping capability, so we can see very clearly where we've got members, what they're doing, and also it's got a mobile piece, because in today's world, everybody's on the move, so we want to make sure that we connect people up while they're on the move, as well as when they're based in whichever city or country.
So you talked there about a membership model. No doubt there'll be different tiers of membership according to whether you're a business or an individual and so forth. But generally, if I was looking to join GlobalWelsh in the future, what sort of thing could I expect to get back?
So as a base member, you would be able to become on the platform. You would have the ability to very easily connect with people for all sorts of different reasons, whether it's looking for jobs, looking for a mentor, advice on travel, advice on business, almost anything you think of. We currently have community members in 46 countries, and we'll continue to grow that. So it's a rich source of networking for business or for other purposes, and that's got value. You know, it really has. I mean, if you contact someone that's also Welsh somewhere in the world, the conversation will just go, and immediate rapport, immediate trust, and so you'll get a lot out of that. And that's at the base level. If you're a business owner or a business in business, and you want to look at the other things that are on offer, so if you're looking for investment, we can help with that. If you're looking for to trade internationally, and we all know as business people, there's huge risks in trading internationally. You can easily get it wrong, and big businesses get it wrong. I mean, we've had many businesses, Tesco and others of that size, retrench from overseas markets. So we think we can de-risk that enormously. So there's huge value in that. connecting people to markets, giving them advice and guidance how to access those markets, and helping them get customers and advising them. And then, of course, our most ambitious entrepreneurs, they want to learn. So bringing people to Wales that are world class at what they do. We had an event earlier this week where we had Rory Sutherland, who's a legendary advertising and marketeer, and the feedback has been fantastic. This guy is just absolutely awesome, and we got a lot of people like that we can bring back, and also getting young people, business leaders out of Wales and experiencing how business is done in other territories. So there's, these are life-changing opportunities potentially. So
you're right about the network opportunity. I think we have small country syndrome to the effect that if you meet somebody else from Wales, you find out where they're from, whether you're related to them, whether you know people in common, and it's that level of intimacy, isn't it? And where you're from and where you live are two entirely separate things in terms of the way people see themselves. You mentioned there how we can build on those personal links that we have. You've told us what you could expect if you became a member. You mentioned at the base level, but what would you get in return? Money, clearly, a membership fee, but what else would you what sort of expertise would you look to get from your membership?
That's a very good point. I mean, I'm not sure we look for them to provide us expertise, potentially. We would want them to help each other. And when I did the research, I spoke to many members of various diasporas, and I remember speaking to a member of the Irish diaspora based in London, and she told me that she was in mid-career, but she felt she wanted to give back, so she got involved in their diaspora activities. And she said, I got involved because I wanted to help. She said, I never expected it to impact me personally, but she said, my career has just gone from strength to strength. I never expected that. So, career development, is a big thing, I think, where people can help each other and with their careers. We would certainly want to use the whole of our community as a research source of knowledge and expertise. So almost any question any policymaker is looking wants to ask, we can ask the diaspora, whether that's it doesn't even. It could be anybody in Wales, because a membership will include people in Wales. But there's a source of information and a think tank, if you like, in some ways.
Yeah, I've been struck by the fact that we have a lot of people, as do other countries, who are financially comfortable, who, if they wanted to, could lie the beach all day, but they don't want to. They want to give something back. Yeah. And the level of goodwill that exists amongst the Welsh diaspora towards Wales, and the real interest in putting something back. I've seen it, and it's harnessing that was always the challenge.
It is, and I think busy people are always busy people. I don't think they retire and sit on the beach. So, but once their careers are over, they still look for stuff to do, and we want to try and engage them in doing stuff back in Wales in some way. So you're right. They do want to give back, and it's funny, the busiest people are often the ones that want to give back the most. So I'll give you an example. One of our community members have just got her first chief executive job, and she rang me up and she said, would it be possible for me to connect with Warren East of Rolls-Royce, and do you think you might mentor me into my first CEO role for 3 to 6 months? Well, he's got a big job to do and he's a busy guy, but I asked him and he said yes. So, the busy people are always going to be busy, and they'll always want to do something. And of course, if they're independently wealthy, they don't want to give all their money to the taxman. They don't want to give all their money to their children. So they are looking for things to do. And that legacy period in someone's life is probably a rich source of benefit to Wales, I think.
You're right there. I remember talking to Terry Matthews. Terry's somebody with tremendous energy. And I once asked him, Terry, have you ever thought of retiring? And he looked at me as if he didn't understand the concept, because he's that sort of person. He just, he has to keep on going. He's full of ideas, and he's one of these people who just will tell you something on the spur of the moment, an idea that he's had, and that energy is still there, isn't it? People have made their money. Now they're looking to expend their energy and their expertise for the good of Wales, and it's a question of how you harness that.
Well, again, this is the learning I've gone through over the last 5 years, and the key thing is understanding the person. So you can't best guess it. Some will reveal it very quickly. This is the thing I'm really interested in doing. Others are less forthcoming. But it does come down to their personal desires and ambitions and things that they're really passionate and interested about in. So it's trying to identify those and then matching that passion with opportunities in Wales to actually give back in that way. So I know Warren really well now after quite a few years, and he's passionate about engineering education. And, you know, that's the thing that he would certainly want to contribute to when he has more time. And then there's probably other things as well, but he's certainly that.
Okay. Finally then, could I ask you what your personal vision would be for Wales? If I said to you over the next decade, if we were sitting here in 10 years' time, what would you like to have seen happen in Wales in that time?
Oh, that's a big question, Carwyn. Well, certainly significantly more prosperous. I'd like to see fewer people leaving Wales because, if we can create more opportunity here, that would be great. I certainly would like to play some role in attracting people back. Again, based on the research, returning diaspora tend to have a disproportionate impact on the Welsh economy, on Wales in general. So trying to attract more people. I'd like to see Wales competing for entrepreneurial talent and have a proper structured approach to doing that, because again, there's plenty of talent out there that's looking for a home to build a business, and I think Wales has a great story to tell in that respect. So they're the things that I would like to do more of and see proper programs around doing, and that would add up to a significant increase in prosperity, I think. And it's not all about money. It's all, it's more to it than that. But the more prosperous we are, the more we can do to help other people that are from disadvantaged areas. I mean, I go back to Pontypool, and it's. I remember it was a kid, and it was a very prosperous town. I lived near Newport, and you think, yeah, we need to do better. And I think the diaspora, because when you connect with any member of the diaspora, it's about Wales, but more importantly, it's about the place in Wales that they are emotionally connected to. So for me, it's Pontypool. And so it's very easy to ask someone that's from a particular location to give back to that location. And every single valley town has spawned successful people that have left, and they're out there in the wider world. And if we can find them, I'm sure we can convince them to come back and do something positive. When I was a kid, there were 3 grammar schools in Pontypool, and I know there's lots of very successful people out there that went to those schools. We just want to find them and bring them back.
Well, hopefully you can go out there and capture them and bring them back, and they can bring something back to Wales with them, whether it's money or whether it's expertise. We know they'll always be welcome. Walter May, founder of GlobalWelsh, thank you for joining us, and the best of luck in the future.
Thanks, Carwyn. Appreciate it.